Modern Chess Instructor. W. Steinitz. Part I. Containing elementary explanations for beginners. The description of notations. A. Telegraphic chess code. An essay on the principles of the game and analyses of 6 popular openings, with illustrative games to each opening, etc. 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 The appendix contains the games of the contest between Messrs. Steinitz and TSCHIGORIN played at Havana in January and February, I-889, with annotations by the author. G. P. Putnam's Sons, New York, London. 29 West 23 D Street, 27 King William Street, Strand, LA. D89. Copyright by W. Steinitz. 1889. All rights reserved. Entered at Stationers' Hall, London, by W. Steinitz. To the generous patron of chess and chess masters, the Honorable R. Steele, of Calcutta, member of the Executive Council of His Excellency the Viceroy of India. The whole work on chess, of which the present is the first volume, is dedicated, with the most sincere sentiments of the highest esteem and warmest friendship, by the author. Chapter IB. Technical terms. I. Castling. Each player has the privilege once in the game only, subject to certain restrictions, of moving his king to squares in conjunction with placing on the square which the king has passed one of his rooks. This operation, a compound move, is called castling. Position before castling queen's side. Position before castling king's side / I. Them H9 miles IPR. Position after castling queen's side. Position after castling king's side. M millimeters. Castling can only be performed subject to the following restrictions. I. The king must not be in check. 2. He must not pass over or alight on a square commanded by a hostile man. 3. Neither king nor rook must have been previously moved. 4. No piece must intervene between the king and rook. In Italy the following method of castling was, and, we believe, is still practiced. The king and rook can be either placed on any square within the limits of an include greater than in G their own 2, provided they cross over each other. Thus, castling may be effected. XXI. The technical terms. In 16 different ways, viz. in 6 ways on the king's side, and in 10 ways on the queen's side. According to Stanton, castling is only a modern innovation. In the Middle Ages, the king had the privilege of being played on his first move, under somewhat similar restrictions, to squares in any direction, from the square on which he originally stood, whether the intervening square was vacant or occupied. 2. Queen the pawn. The pawn is queened when it has reached the last square of a file on which it is advancing, or when it captures a hostile piece on the 8th row. It may then be exchanged for a queen or rook or a bishop or knight. Thus a player may have 2 or more queens, rooks, bishops or knights on the board at the same time, or he may refuse promotion to his pawn. The Committee of the London International Chess Congress, of 1862, decided that a player should have the option of refusal of promotion, as positions may occur in which promotion would involve the loss of the game, whereas, by refusal of promotion, a draw could be obtained. The following position illustrating a case of that kind is quoted from Lowenthal's book of the London Chess Congress, of 1862, Black. I. Here, it is white's move, and if he capture the rook with the pawn and claim the queen or any other piece, black takes the bishop with the pawn and checkmates him next move. But, if he refuse promotion, the game is drawn, since if then black capture the bishop, white is stalemated, and if he move either pawn or king, white takes the knight's pawn with the bishop and draws, e.g. IPXR remaining the pawn. IPQ KD4, to be expert KDE, etc. We approve of the decision of the Committee of the London Chess Congress, of 1862, although the dummy pawn rule was denounced by some authorities. In Italy the pawn was formerly always retained at the 8th square as a temporary dummy pawn until a piece was captured for which it could be exchanged. It sometimes happens that a player can win a game by claiming a minor piece or 8 rook when he would lose by claiming the queen. 3. Check. The king is in check when he is attacked by a hostile piece or pawn, and as his capture is not permissible according to the laws of chess, warning must be given by the opponent calling check. One of 3 things must then be done. I. The king must move out of check. 2. The hostile man that checks him must be taken. Technical terms. XXV. 3. The piece or pawn must be interposed between the king and the attacking hostile piece or pawn. If none of these things can be done, the game is lost, the king being checkmated. 4. Simple check occurs when the king is directly attacked by a single piece or pawn. 5. Double check is brought about when the king is attacked by two pieces at the same time owing to a discovered check. 6. Discovered check occurs when, by the removal of a piece or pawn, check is unmasked from another piece. 7. Perpetual check occurs when the attacked king cannot escape from one check without rendering himself liable to another. Circumflex accent 8. Stalemate is brought about when the king, although not at the moment in check, is so situated that he cannot be moved without going into check, and when no other piece or pawn can be moved. The game then is drawn. 9. Smothered mate, or filator's legacy, occurs when the king is so hemmed in by his own men that he cannot move out of check from a hostile knight, which is the only piece that can administer this mate. 10. Emprise. A French term, signifying exposed to capture. When any undefended piece or pawn is attacked by a hostile man, it is said to be en prize, i.e. liable to be taken. 11. Javube. Two other French words, meaning I adjust la the I to be used by a player when he touches a man to adjust its position on the board, without intending to move it, if it be one of his own men, or to capture it, if it be one of his opponent's men. 12. Forced move. When a player has only one move at his disposal, that is called a forced move. 13. False move. Any illegal move, such as castling when the king is in check or has been already moved, or moving the bishop like a knight, or a knight like a bishop or rook, is called a false move. 14. Minor pieces. The knights and bishops are termed minor pieces to distinguish them from the queen and rooks. 15. Rows and file. When the men are arranged at the commencement of the game, they are in two ranks. The horizontal ranks of squares are termed rows or ranks, and the vertical squares files. 1-6. The exchange. Winning or losing the rook for a minor piece is called winning or losing the exchange. 17. Gambit. The word derived from the Italian, signifying to trip up in wrestling, used in chess phraseology in certain openings, in which a player sacrifices a pawn for the sake of obtaining an attack. The pawn thus sacrificed is called the gambit pawn. 1-8. Doubled pawn. Two pawns of the same color on the same file are called doubled pawns. 19. Isolated pawn. The pawn which cannot be supported by other pawns and stands alone on a file is called an isolated pawn. XXVI technical terms. 20. Passed pawn. The pawn is called passed when there is no hostile pawn to prevent its march to the 8th square. 21. To take en passant or in passing. On his first move in the game, the pawn has the privilege of advancing 2 squares. But, if in thus advancing, he passes a square attacked by a hostile pawn, which is posted at a 5th square, counting from the opposite side, he is liable to be captured in passing by the said pawn, which may intercept him in his passage as if he had only moved 1 square. For instance, after the moves IPK4, IPK4, to KKD63, to QKDPS, 3PQ4, 3PX4, 4B84, for KD63, 5PK5, 5PQ4, White's king's pawn may capture the pawn which has just advanced 2 squares as if it had only moved 1 square, which means that White may take off the pawn at Black's Q4 and place his own king's pawn at Black's Q3. Compare diagram. Position after White's 6th move, PXP en passant or in passing. Black, White. But the capture en passant must be effected at once on the move, for the adverse pawn cannot be thus taken subsequently. Only pawns not pieces can capture or be captured en passant. The pawn was not allowed formerly the privilege of taking en passant, the rule having been first adopted in Spain in the time of Ruy Lopez, and afterwards legalized in France, England and Germany. Until quite recently it was not allowed in Italy. 22. Drawn game. When neither player can checkmate his adversary, the game is drawn. The following are instances in which this occurs. I. by perpetual check. 2. When both players persist in repeating the same moves. 3. By stalemate. 4. When the stronger force cannot give checkmate within the number of moves specified in Law XI. 5. When the forces on either side are equal, or nearly so, as queen versus queen, rook versus rook or bishop, etc. Chess as a training of mind and how to improve. XXVII